The story begins with the fierce and brutal battle between the human clan and the magic clan. The war between the human clan and the magic clan has entered its final day. The magic clan's army is surrounding the humans, and only one castle remains. A ghost dragon hovers amidst the smoke and flames, petals gently falling, creating a tragic scene. At that moment, a young man descended upon the raging ghost dragon. Gliding past him is Shia Yuan, the ruthless demon leader commanding thousands of demons in the invasion of the human clan. He loudly declares, "Today is the day I unify the world." He arrogantly proclaims, "All things will turn to demons, with me as their master. This final castle can be turned to dust with just a wave of my hand." The demon objects rushed forward in response to his words, chanting, "Turn to dust, turn to dust, turn to dust." One of them hesitated, looking at the flickering light. A powerful sword chi sliced through, killing that demon object instantly. Next, an even more explosive force zoomed past Shia Yuan, causing him to pause. Without delay, that force violently struck him directly, but Shia Yuan easily blocked it with one hand. A girl shouted, "Shia Yuan, you won't get away with this." The girl held the sword firmly, her aura radiating a powerful presence. "I am still alive, you will not set foot into Xiangning City." Shia Yuan also held a demon sword, calmly saying, "Long time no see, little junior sister. So it turns out you are the one protecting this city." He spoke with a relaxed mood. "I didn't even know the name of this city." Shia Yuan spread his arms, arrogantly continuing, "Anyway, in the past 3 months, I have led the demon lord to flatten 500 human realm cities, just like crushing 500 ants. Who would remember the names of those ants?" His gaze grew sinister, filled with the evil energy of arrogance, stating, "But you are different, little junior sister. I am in a very good mood right now. If you surrender, I will let you stand below one person and above countless in the magic clan. Consider it a way for you to have protected this city." The demon objects laughed loudly, "Ha ha ha. Below one person, what can that do if not be the demon empress? How can one be above and below?" The girl's eyes radiated evil energy as she emphasized, "Do not call me little junior sister." She charged in anger, saying, "Since the moment you stepped into the demon path, I can only see you as an enemy." She struck down fiercely with her sword, powerful lightning scattering from it. She gritted her teeth and said, Shia Yuan, hand over the life." Shia Yuan blocked with the demon sword, letting out a huff. Then, he unleashed a powerful sword chi that forced her to retreat. The girl countered with a palm strike, channeling spiritual energy in executing the move called Blooming Kasha. The power she unleashed swirled around her, gradually transforming into flying swords heading towards Shia Yuan. He was intrigued and said, "Very good, this is what I mean by acting according to your words." Shia Yuan unleashed his immense power, raising the demon sword, and asked, "Do you know what it costs to save these lowly beings?" After finishing his sentence, Shia Yuan shot forth a sword chi, charging directly at the junior sister. Consequently, her Blooming Kasha move was shattered in just one ferocious stroke from Shia Yuan. But the junior sister quickly countered with another resonant sword strike, equal in power to his, saying, "Today, even if I have to sever the sun and moon, I will fight you to the death." The two sword chis were truly terrifying, clashing head-on as if intending to shatter heaven and earth. Alongside these two forces, the flows of magical and demonic energy swirled and created unprecedented chaos. The two powers continued to clash, shaking the heavens and the earth. The demon objects below had begun to tremble and exclaimed, "We heard that this woman has entered the divine stage, her cultivation is not inferior to our supreme ones. It turns out the battle between demigods is so terrifying." In the sky above, all that could be seen was the two powers colliding, creating a scene never witnessed before. The human clan below looked up, crying out, "Oh my, save us. We beg you." Thankfully, there is the city lord. The girl holding her child pointed up high and joyfully said, "That is divine punishment. The heavens want to punish that supreme being." Suddenly, white holes contrasting against the gloomy sky began to appear and expand. The demon object exclaimed in astonishment, "The sky, is about to collapse. Rang Shuoyan and the girl were locked in a life-and-death battle, both wielding powers that continued to erupt without end. The two sides clashed swords, releasing an immense pressure. Behind the girl, a powerful destructive spatial rift appeared, poised to annihilate the world. Seeing this, Rang Shuoyan was taken aback and said, "This celestial phenomenon, it's not right, stop immediately." Suddenly, the sword in the hand of the girl vanished, leaving Rang Shuoyan in shock. Her body emitted wild energy as she grabbed his shirt, speaking coldly. "Before you stepped into the path of darkness, I begged you countless times to stop." At that moment, her eyes were streaked with terrifying green veins as she said, "At this point, we no longer have the right to stop. I know I cannot defeat you, but I can ignite the golden elixir and perish alongside you." Rang Shuoyan did not care about that and shouted, "I'm not talking about this. You and I, the battle between two demigods has attracted divine punishment. If this continues." Before he could finish, cracks appeared in the sky, and a terrifying force descended, with even more violent veins, causing the demon objects to scream in fear and flee. "It's divine punishment. It has finally descended. Divine punishment. I don't want to die yet." But the divine punishment had come down, instantly turning the demon objects to ash. More and more divine punishments pierced through the sky, striking the mortal realm, destroying the cities hit by the lightning. The human clan was reduced to dust under the overwhelming pressure. The entire city seemed to be erased from the earth. The scene was extremely horrifying. At that moment, a voice spoke, "Humans and demons are both so weak before divine punishment." The junior sister, wide-eyed, turned her head and called out, "Xiang." Tears streamed down her face as she continued to call, "Xiangning City." Looking back at Xiangning City, which now had nothing left, she gasped, "How could this happen?" Suddenly, Rang Shuoyan pushed her away with some force, while he himself was illuminated by the heavenly Tao. When she tried to turn back, she was blocked by divine punishment in the middle. Looking at him, despite his dark expression, he smiled contentedly at her. She called out in surprise, "Rang Shuoyan." But the result was already determined. He also turned to dust, unable to escape what was called divine punishment. Nothing in the world could escape. Everything was swallowed in an instant by thunder and lightning that come once in 1,000 years. In a desolate field, the leaves, shaken by the wind, covered the lower half of the young boy who lay there naked. He lay unconscious, and after who knows how long, he let out a soft sound and opened his eyes. Rang Shuoyan sat up, holding his head in confusion. "Where am I?" I pushed little junior sister away, and then there was nothing after that. Rang Shuoyan looked around the place and didn't know what to say. Looking at the rabbit eagerly munching on grass, his face darkened as he thought, "Where are my followers?" He exclaimed, "Where is my battle treasure?" Upon looking down at his body, he was even more shocked and asked, "Where are my clothes?" Rang Shuoyan's eyes turned red, his fists clenched as he shouted, "Are you seeking death? Who dares to toy with me?" But no matter how hard he tried to brace himself, when he let go, his magical power had completely vanished. His pupils widened, and his face was one of disbelief. "Where is my cultivation?" Rang Shuoyan stood there like a statue, and after a moment, he looked at his hands, wondering, is this the result of my actions leading to divine punishment? Or is it because our fighting spirit is too strong? But throughout history, it has never been said that divine punishment falls upon mortals with no strength at all. A golden bird flew over and landed on Rang Shuoyan's hand. He looked at it again, confused. What on earth has happened? This scene doesn't look like it just took place a few short days ago. He covered one eye with his hand, his face darkened, and laughed heartily. Is it possible that Heavenly Tao is afraid of me? Afraid that I will step onto the saint level and break this world? How ridiculous. The frightened bird quickly flew away. Rang Shuoyan down here is pointing at the sky, complaining, Jade Emperor cunningly harmed me. You released a loud explosion that caused my hard-earned territory to collapse completely. Do you think I will be discouraged and give up because of that? Rang Shuoyan looked at his hands again and said, even though I've lost all my cultivation, the spiritual mine of the earth, the source of spiritual energy, should still exist, right? He closed his eyes to regulate his breath and discovered, how can it be like this? The spiritual mine of the earth is so sparse. This is no different from the end of the law period. He spread his hand, and the energy he created dispersed in the wind. Is this cultivation not even at the foundation establishment level yet? Rang Shuayan furrowed his brows and speculated, if my own cultivation is like this, then others must have long since had their divine souls perish, returning like dust to the ground. Rang Shuayan suddenly noticed something. He raised his hand to pick up the broken piece of jade from the ground and looked at it. This is the heart-guarding jade that little junior sister has always carried with her since childhood. The heart-guarding jade has shattered, and little junior sister is surely. He called out sadly, little junior sister. He gritted his teeth and shouted angrily, how infuriating. How infuriating. If it weren't for the cunning Jade Emperor harming me, we would have already succeeded in our plan and captured little junior sister for private interrogation. Rang Shuayan fell into his rich imagination. Little junior sister was tied up, her clothes torn, crying, I'm so thirsty. Making him blush and drool, ahem, this is an addition, not the main purpose. The sect master still wants to conquer the world. But he couldn't stop thinking about it. Rang Shuayan brought a cup of water, asking, the water is here. Senior brother will let you drink, why won't you open your mouth? He pressed little junior sister's chin gently, urging her to open her mouth, there's no other way. Senior brother can't let you die of thirst. Rang Shuayan took a sip of water and directly fed it to her mouth. Little junior sister was stunned at first, then she coughed, her face flushed, her eyes filling with tears as she shouted, rebels. Why don't you kill me? Rang Shuayan lifted her chin and calmly said, I am your senior brother, so I can't bear to lay a hand on you. Hearing those words, little junior sister choked back her tears and said, Senior brother, why did you step into the demon path? The shackles on little junior sister were removed. Rang Shuayan supported her and said, don't ask. She looked confused and asked, Senior brother, what do you plan to do? Rang Shuayan walked away with a cold demeanor and replied, don't worry, before you finish recuperating, senior brother will not do anything. Little junior sister blushed and said, the victor becomes king, yet you still remember the bond of fellow disciples and spare my life. She shyly added, if that's the case, what difference does it make who is on top and who is below? The script for this incarnation was supposed to develop like this. Rang Shuayan continually waved his hands and exclaimed, don't think about it anymore. He looked at the heart-guarding jade and sadly thought, my half-god body is lost, the magic clan's army has been dispersed, and even little junior sister is gone. Even my clothes are lost. He collapsed in despair, crying out, everything is lost. Everything is gone. I hate it. Rang Shuayan composed himself and thought, after all, I built my foundation from nothing. Reinventing myself is not a difficult task. Just train for another 100 years, 200 years. He turned around and said, but, while observing this desolate place. Xiangning City is in ruins. This tattered world. Rang Shuayan's eyes darkened, he became angry and said, what meaning does conquest have anymore? He pulled a bunch of grass, fiddled with it for a while, and made a large mat, thinking, great achievement. Then he threw it over himself and said, tired. Then he lay down and waited to die. Rang Shuayan lay down and rolled around a few times, looking up at the sky, and wondered, if I die, will I meet little junior sister? Will I see our magic clan army again? At that moment, a spaceship appeared in the sky, flying rapidly towards him. Rang Shuayan was annoyed by the noise, turned and said, what is that? Can't even death be peaceful? His expression changed 180 degrees, he shouted, damn it. The spaceship shone a golden light down, making Rang Shuayan cover his head in fear, what is this? The light spread out, causing him to frantically crawl and run away. Ah, it's coming this way. Rang Shuayan hurriedly ducked into the bushes, then cautiously looked outside. He sweat and said, I've never seen this monster before. I have never heard of it either. The person who came has no good intentions. Rang Shua Yen said joyfully, although I don't know what this monster is, at least it proves that this world is not completely desolate. As long as that is the case, it is still necessary to conquer. Rang Shua Yen looked up at the light and guessed, it moved in a straight line, sweeping through the flat fields, seemingly searching for something. He excitedly tracked its movement and said, it stopped. The light shone on the rabbit from before, making him exclaim in surprise, is that a rabbit? Are they just looking for rabbits? How idle. The light then retracted back to the spaceship. Rang Shua Yen looked up and said, has the light beam stopped? Unexpectedly, the spaceship shot down an even more powerful force at the rabbit. The electric current inside made the rabbit twitch a few times before it fell, emitting black smoke. Rang Shua Yen frowned, firmly thinking, this white light is indeed used to kill. He suddenly realized something and said, wait. The white light, the flickering style really resembles divine punishment. He recalled the time he fought with his little junior sister and became even more suspicious. During our great battle, the light finally emanated from the clouds. Could it be related to this monster? He clenched his fist, breaking a branch in anger, and thought, if the beam of light in the battle is the light emitted by this monster, then it's not divine punishment. The light was absorbed, creating a terrifying wind. Not wanting to let this matter settle, Rang Shua Yen rushed out, bravely stating, we must not let it escape without clarifying everything. He waved the leaf away, knelt down, and formed a seal to invoke, celestial technique, start. The result only brought a refreshing breeze, and nothing happened, leaving Rang Shua Yen with a grim expression. He stood up, knelt down again in despair, I forgot that I only have Cultivation Foundation establishment right now, what can I fly for? He looked straight up at the clouds, wondering, where is that monster going? Then he thought, what on earth is it? What is its purpose? After a moment, Rang Shua Yen made up his mind, no, even if I can't fly, I must chase to see what is happening. Who knows, things might still change. Meanwhile, he forgot that the rabbit over here was continuously puffing out smoke. Electricity surged from his body as he twitched a few times before suddenly sitting up, his eyes shining bright. Not long ago, I was the demon leader who made the world tremble in fear, those who followed me lived, and those who opposed me died. Even the mortals far removed from cultivation would tremble in terror upon hearing my name. The girl, trying to coax her child to sleep, warned, if you don't sleep now, the demon king will come to catch you. The boy immediately stopped crying upon hearing that name. But now, Shua Yen was extremely angry, wrapping himself in a straw mat. I use this straw mat as pants and live only by scavenging. He clenched his fists, angrily thinking, where on earth is that creature? I've searched for it by myself for an entire hour. Don't let me find it. Shua Yen punched the mud hard, resolutely stating, if not, I will definitely. He suddenly halted as the straw mat ripped apart from the force. He stood upright, dazed for a while, then forcefully lifted his leg. When bad luck strikes, it comes in droves. As a result of using too much effort, Shua Yen fell flat on his back. He shouted in a fit of rage, I hate this. He sat up, looking more monstrous than a demon, and yelled, making me fall to such a state, I will surely not forgive you. Shua Yen returned to that muddy pit, looking at his face and feeling horrified as if he had seen a ghost. Although this face is still handsome and charming, damn it. He hurriedly used the muddy water to wash his face, what a shock. He pouted, admiring his extraordinary looks, praising it endlessly. Although this face is still handsome and charming, although the body is still fit, and although walking for an hour doesn't make him feel tired at all, this completely proves that my physique is strong and incredibly resilient. I have loved myself like this already. But he was once again filled with rage, pounding his fist hard into the mud puddle, shouting loudly, what's the point if no one admires me? Shua Yen looked around that desolate place, lamenting, after walking for an hour, there was still not a single person in sight. He began to doubt, could it be that this world really is left with only me? Shua Yen cleared the grass, stepped over, and said, no. Remembering that strength, he fell silent and thought, that monster could fly in the air. Perhaps it is the divine weapon of someone, or spirit beasts. If it's a divine weapon or spirit beasts, there must be someone controlling them. Perhaps there are living people inside that monster. Shia Yuan felt frustrated, furrowing his brows. In the end, it seems I have to find that monster. He looked down at his feet, then lifted one foot, irritated. How annoying, I've gotten my grass sandals dirty. Shia Yuan picked up his sandals, scratched his head, and boasted a little. That's right, I managed to make a pair of grass sandals before, they look a bit neat. He looked down at the ground again, slightly confused. But when did the path beneath my feet turn into a stone road? Shia Yuan slapped his hand, happily saying, with such neatly laid stones, how could I forget? The final battle was outside Xiangning's city of Little Junior Sister. Although the Magic Clan army had been defeated, Xiangning City still looked battered and in ruins from afar. But with hundreds of thousands of people in the city, how could there be no survivors? Moreover, the monster's direction is towards Xiangning City. It must think there are still living people left in the city, coming to clean up the battlefield. If that's the case, I must take the lead. After calculating, Shia Yuan had 1 foot on the ground and jumped up afterward. Not long after, he was panting heavily. As the sun set, Shia Yuan finally arrived in Xiangning City. He looked up and exclaimed, I've finally arrived, it truly is a long-awaited destination. While flying in the air, it felt very close. Suddenly, a beam of light shot from his chest. From within, a ring known as a spirit-infused stone flew out. It circled around a few times before landing in his hand. Shia Yuan was surprised. It was here, what a coincidence. Just at the moment of recovery, right before sensing it, he clenched his fist and said with interest, there must be something unusual in the city. Shia Yuan grasped his wrist, his face confident, and said, if that's the case. His brow furrowed as he resolutely unleashed a burst of power, shouting, open the city gate for my true self. However, nothing happened, leaving Shia Yuan feeling very dejected, crying out. His hand felt like it was about to break, swollen, crying out, it hurts, it hurts, it hurts. Shia Yuan sighed, thinking, if I can't get in, then I can only. He crawled through a dog hole. Shia Yuan's face darkened, arrogantly thinking, how can I, a supreme being, do this? But his actions of crawling in were quite skilled. Once inside the city, Shia Yuan became smug again, tossing his hair. Anyway, it doesn't matter how I enter the city. A person who accomplishes great things never worries about the details. Shia Yuan looked around the buildings in the city, a gentle breeze blew through, and it caused a house to collapse, making him ponder about life. Are there really still people living here? He stared blankly, grunted, even if I can't find that monster, I must at least find a set of clothes. Shia Yuan dug out a notebook from the rubble, dusting it off, he said, even if the situation is unclear, it doesn't matter. He picked up a sharp stone and wrote on it, on a certain day in June of the 300th year of Tian Qi, Shia Yuan witnessed, the specific time cannot be confirmed, this is the first day the deity scavenged. The person who collects this diary. When I pass away someday, the Magic Clan will automatically inherit all the intellectual property of the deity. I have only one wish, to regain the glory of the Magic Clan. Shia Yuan regained his spirit and tucked the diary into his clothing, all right. If heaven does not want me to live well. He braced against the cold, confidently continued, even if I have to scavenge, I will live well for the Jade Emperor to see. Talk is easy. The main character immediately began here. After a while, Shia Yuan found something very cool to wear. But looking back, it seemed a bit off. He thought, well, this isn't too bad, after all, I have an outfit now. He glanced at a jar sitting in the corner, picked it up, and raised it as if collecting a pill. Reading the words on the jar, Golden Spear does not change an old management. Feeling frustrated and letting out a sigh, he threw it behind him, saying, I don't need this. He grumbled, boring, too boring. The jar fell and lay there for a while, a dark shadow observed it for a long time. Shia Yuan picked up the jar again, feeling shameless, muttered, what if I find a survivor in the city, he might need it. In apocalyptic days, we must help each other through difficulties before calculating the accounts. He skipped along happily, laughing and saying, don't worry about these details, just keep going. Shia Yuan found a shirt, admired it for a while, and then put it on. He found a large jar, overjoyed, aha, it seems I've found something good. When he opened it, he quickly covered his nose and exclaimed, too stinky. Are you sick? Storing pickled vegetables in a well. Shia Yuan picked up a stretchy cord, raised it high, and asked, what is this? A toy to play with? It doesn't seem quite right. Before long, the sun had set. He sat on a stone slab and sighed, we have searched the entire city, and the results are not as expected. He jotted down in his notebook, only found 3 pill bottles, 2 sets of clothes, a little gold and silver, and a large iron rod. He put down the pen heavily and thought, yet there isn't a single person. He sighed in frustration, not even bones, hair, or fingernails can be found. It seems that everything has mysteriously vanished. Shia Yuan clenched his fist, crushing that piece of stone, and asked, what kind of power can make everyone turn to dust? He sneered, dropping the stone shards, his eyes gleaming red, but to say that if such great power cannot serve me. He frowned and continued, then it must be destroyed. He pulled out the iron rod and slung it over his shoulder, filled with arrogance, convinced, now that I have clothes and weapons, I probably have the strength to fight that monster. As he said, I am Rang Shia Yuan, he tripped over something and fell to the ground. He got angry and turned to ask, what is this? To his surprise, it was a chain. He picked up the chain, astonished, is it linked to the underground? He yanked it hard, but there was no response, he was confused and pulled again. As a result, the ground opened beneath him, causing Shia Yuan to fall and scream, "Ah." He sat up, holding his head, exclaiming, ouch. Looking around, he saw oil lamps lit, which left Shia Yuan in stunned silence. Looking at the tall building, he asked again, where is this? Shia Yuan hurriedly turned to leave, thinking, the situation here is unclear. First, I'll get a metal rod, then I can come back. At that moment, a strong fragrance wafted through the air, causing him to stop. A scent? How is that possible? Shia Yuan activated his dog-like sense of smell, starting to sniff around, let me confirm. Yes, it's that smell, I can't be mistaken. He immediately thought of his little junior sister who had embraced her body, this is the scent of my little junior sister. He smiled happily, surprised by the thought. The sweet fragrance is so enchanting, it must belong to little junior sister's chamber. I never expected little junior sister's chamber to be underground. Shia Yuan immediately rushed up the steps and called out loudly, little junior sister, senior brother is here to visit you. He was running up with great enthusiasm, but unexpectedly tripped and fell face first onto the bed. He looked around the room with satisfaction and said, this is little junior sister's bedroom. In Xiangning City, I am the only one left, so why should I hold back? He picked up a pillow and wildly inhaled the fragrance on it. A tail sprouted out as he exclaimed, the scent of little junior sister, it hasn't changed at all over the years. Shia Yuan clasped his hands together and shouted, spirit-infused stone, open. The spirit-infused stone rose high and emitted a force, opening 3 boxes. He looked at the items inside with uncontainable excitement. My little junior sister's belongings must be cherished. Let me see what's inside. He remembered the time little junior sister was happy. Thank you for the gift, I really like it. Looking at the item in his hand, he couldn't help but smile, thinking, clearly, when fighting me, she never wore any makeup, but deep down she's still the little girl who loves to beautify herself as before. My face turned red as I called for the spirit-infused stone to collect those items. As I rummaged through the second drawer, I suddenly froze. Looking at that bright red bra made my nose bleed, I exclaimed, wow. Little junior sister knows how to play like this. So revealing, this must be an item from the western regions. Shia Yuan picked up another piece of clothing, his face drowning in pleasure. There's also this belly wrap style. If little junior sister were alive and wore these things in front of me, blood gushed from my nose, and I had to cover it with my hand, breathing heavily and saying, I'm going to die. I imagined little junior sister asking, senior brother, do you like me wearing this? How annoying, senior brother, don't stare at me like that. Shia Yuan stammered, collect it, hurry up and collect it, stop thinking. I raised my hand to the third box. The third chest. Looking at the first two nearly took half my life. I trembled, fearing I would faint again, hesitating, if I look at the third chest too, will I collapse on the spot? But this chest has two locks, it must be the most important item of little junior sister. He thought of some inappropriate things and chuckled, guessing, it could be items only adults know about. Shia Yuan opened it while asking, what could it be? He suddenly froze at the sight inside the box, old clothes and a worn-out doll. He picked up the shirt and said, I remember this set. He closed his eyes lightly and sighed, little girl. That was a long time ago, the little junior sister said, senior brother, I won't accept that, you stop right there. She ran after Shia Yuan, saying, let's have another match. He nonchalantly replied, your sword skills are no match for mine, you might as well find some junior brothers to compete with, that would be more beneficial. Competing between you and me is just a waste of time. The little junior sister huffed, unable to help but asked shyly, senior brother, why do you say that about me? Her expression was sly, smiling mischievously, thinking she had it figured out. Then she exclaimed, startling Shia Yuan, who hurried over to catch her, asking, are you okay, junior sister? The little junior sister didn't answer, wrapping her arms around his neck, saying, it seems like senior brother still cares about me. Her soft chest pressed against Shia Yuan's firm chest made him feel embarrassed, calling out, little junior sister. She kept throwing a tantrum, stamping her feet, and said, I don't care, today you must practice swordsmanship with me. If you don't come with me, I won't teach. Shia Yuan sternly replied, little junior sister, you can't do this. If the master finds out, he will definitely be very angry. Little junior sister stubbornly insisted, then quickly get up and practice swordsmanship with me, senior brother. Her feet kept kicking in the air, accidentally kicking Shia Yuan's leg, causing him to fall down. Little junior sister blushed all over and exclaimed, senior brother. You touched that part of me. The situation between the two was quite ambiguous. Shia Yuan looked at where his hand was placed and felt incredibly shameless, even his younger brother was coming out, making little junior sister scream and then bash him on the face, shouting, senior brother, you rogue. Get up for me now. Back in little junior sister's bedroom, Shia Yuan looked at the outfit with a cheerful mood and said, this outfit is the one little junior sister wore when practicing swordsmanship that year. He hugged it close, feeling happy, and said, I didn't expect she would still keep it. I remember back then, I couldn't help but squeeze and pinch it a bit. In the collapse of the image, he showed no restraint, touching his cheek. Little junior sister slapped me, and I still remember it clearly. Shia Yuan looked at the shirt with an extremely perverted expression. Little junior sister still kept this outfit. Unable to hold back, he brought it to his nose and inhaled. I'm sure she hasn't forgotten either. He lowered his head, a slight smile tinged with sadness. But just a few years later, I was expelled from the sect by master. Though I couldn't forget little junior sister, we haven't practiced swordplay together for many years. In the great battle, her swordsmanship was truly remarkable. His heart seemed to shatter as he pondered, for all these years, who has she practiced swordplay with? Shia Yuan sighed, laughing bitterly. Time passes, everything changes. He fumbled in the pillow, then widened his eyes and asked, what is this? He held something up, speculating, little junior sister had a bracelet like this, definitely because her chest was too ample. He felt regret, sighing within, if only I hadn't practiced dark magic, if only I had remained in the sect. We are certainly going to be Tao partners with little junior sister soon. Thinking of the scene ahead, he yelled, wait until she gives birth to my child, then even more. His face was indescribably joyful, with a hint of pride, thinking, my little junior sister, that bracelet is definitely only for me to see. Shia Yuan imagined himself pinning little junior sister down on the bed, his tongue eagerly licking back and forth and then pressing down. Little junior sister panicked, exclaiming, no, this is for the baby. At that moment, Shia Yuan was drooling, laughing lewdly. February 2nd, so enjoyable. What is February 2nd? Refer to previous chapters. He wiped his nose, adjusted his thoughts, and resolutely said, even if we can't achieve it then, this must be done. After I unify the world, I had originally planned it this way. Everything was destroyed by that monster. Everything was destroyed. If one day I catch it, I will definitely pay it back tenfold. Shia Yuan wiped away his tears and carried some boxes away, saying, well then, these things must be kept very safe. Even if I may never find little junior sister again. But this is still the warm youth of myself. He discovered an hourglass, then raised it and said, this might be useful, let's put it away. Shia Yuan then quickly searched around the room. He stood in the sparkling room, chuckling, and said, so I've finished searching. Shia Yuan looked down at his feet, then sat down to scratch at some tiles. Unfortunately, the tiles in this palace cannot be removed and taken away. Otherwise, before he could finish, Shia Yuan managed to pry up a tile, appearing quite dazed. Then he exclaimed in surprise, it's empty underneath. He leaned down to poke around below, asking, what is this? Unexpectedly, he pulled up a book of some sort. Shia Yuan then asked, what is this, a book? He blew off the dust that had settled on it for a long time and clearly saw the writing on it, always remember my first love, senior brother rang Shia Yuan. Shia Yuan's face became contorted, and he said, I really want to see what little junior sister wrote about me. He sat back down and began to flip through it. The first encounter with Rang Shia Yuan, the day I joined the sect, was also the first day I met him. The rain fell at an inopportune time. Little junior sister was standing in front of the sect, feeling dejected, and asked, why did I forget to bring an umbrella? She kicked her foot in frustration and said, it's really embarrassing to get wet on my first time at the sect. At that moment, someone approached and then shielded little junior sister from the rain with an umbrella from behind. She looked up, surprised. Shia Yuan had come closer and said, thinking that you must have arrived, I came to pick you up as the rain started. Little junior sister blushed a bit and joyfully thanked him, asking, you must be senior brother Rang Shia Yuan, right? Shia Yuan was surprised and asked, you know me? Then he replied to little junior sister, that's right, I am Rang Shia Yuan. In reality, he was also focused on reading aloud. I didn't expect the famous senior brother to be so gentle and approachable. My heart felt like it was soaked in the rain, carrying the chill of autumn but also a sweet, indescribable warmth. Shia Yuan scratched his nose and praised, I didn't expect little junior sister to have such eloquence. He touched his head and looked a bit puzzled, but according to my usual style, I don't seem to be like what is written in the books. Shia Yuan clapped his hands and then patted his thigh, excitedly recalling. At that time, the other senior brothers said that the sect was about to have a super beautiful woman. I took the umbrella and moved ahead just to be the first to admire the beauty. Shia Yuan blushed, continuously flipping through the pages joyfully. This diary is so thick, I didn't expect the little junior sister to have so many thoughts about me. I must cherish this diary and read it carefully every night before sleeping. This is the reason I continue to live. Shia Yuan flipped to one page and stopped, puzzled. As she turned another page, she asked, why is this page red? Let me see. On that red page, it was written, senior brother touched my chest. Shia Yuan read aloud with delight, this is the first time senior brother touched my chest, and he even complimented that my chest is big. He pinched me 3 times, and in the end, he couldn't help but squeeze it once. It hurt a little. Every night I dream of the figure of senior brother. Despite her red face, Shia Yuan was still somewhat surprised and said, wait, this seems to be different from how I remember the little junior sister in some way. So, the little junior sister turned out to have such a personality. At that moment, behind Shia Yuan, a creature with red eyes appeared. He immediately recognized it, glanced over, and took hold of the iron rod in a defensive stance. He smiled with excitement and said, a living being. Finally, it has appeared. The creature made a sound like hoo-chi and charged to attack Shia Yuan first. He gripped his weapon tightly, thinking, oh no, my cultivation is only at foundation establishment, the chi of this monster cannot be underestimated. The creature had aggressive purple eyes, it turned out to be a spirit rabbit, fiercely armed with sharp claws. Shia Yuan widened his eyes in astonishment, it's it. This is the rabbit that was swept away by the monster with white light. I never expected it to rise from the dead. The rabbit let out a squeaky sound and jumped up, leaping towards him. As expected, it struck Shia Yuan's body and rolled away, leaving him speechless. Not to be outdone, it regained its fighting spirit and charged at him again, as if confirming how weak it really was. Shia Yuan allowed it to attack him as it pleased, as if he were looking down on it heavily. However, its strength was not even enough to scratch him, causing him to get angry and strike down hard, shouting, "Shut up, you little sister." The rabbit was hit with a stick, and both its representation and body were marked by the stick, bouncing against the wall. After finishing it off, he said, "However, this one is too weak now." He lifted the rabbit up, observed it for a moment, and concluded, this rabbit mutated after being killed by the white light. Perhaps the prey it has targeted can all die and come back to life, turning into monsters. This is starting to get troublesome. He frowned and asked, "From white to black, is this still edible?" "Oh well, if it's grilled well, it should be fine. Medical books say that high temperatures can eliminate toxins." Shia Yuan started a fire and skewered the rabbit, his lips slightly curving upwards as he speculated, little junior sister must not have any food in this large bedroom because she wants to lose weight. This body's cultivation has regressed and cannot go into seclusion, not eating isn't good. He tore off a piece of the rabbit's meat, exclaiming, "Ouch, hot, hot, hot," as he ate it, then praised, "Yeah, the taste is decent, just a bit tough." After a while, Shia Yuan lay back on the bed and opened his journal. "Let me see what little junior sister has written. Why is senior brother Rang Shia Yuan so famous? It is because he has extraordinary talent. Even before he joined the sect, he used his innate ability to save people. After entering the sect, his cultivation advanced rapidly, surpassing everyone else in just one night. However, within the sect, several senior brothers with power and money were envious of him, often bullying him, humiliating him, and even hurting him. The master always showed favoritism, reprimanding senior brother Rang Shia Yuan whenever something happened. I have even wondered if the master is also jealous of him. Later, senior brother killed a villain. That person had power and influence, and his family came to the sect, demanding that they hand over senior brother to make amends for his death. Because of this, he was expelled from the sect. As a result, he turned to the path of darkness. I can understand this, I do not blame him. Shia Yuan turned over, placing the diary on his chest, looking pensive and lost in thought. After a long while, he finally spoke, calling out, "Little junior sister, I have always thought that you hated me, but the reason I left the sect is not like that. Enough, there's no point in mentioning it again." He turned back once more, surprised, "Oh, it turns out you really don't blame me? Little junior sister, now you are as strong as senior brother. Senior brother is sure you must have survived, just hiding somewhere that I haven't found." Shia Yuan lay still for a while, then spoke again as promised, "Senior brother will definitely find you, okay?" In a daze, a clear voice called, "Senior brother." Shia Yuan opened his eyes, still hearing, "Senior brother," being called. In front of him was little junior sister dressed seductively, lying beside him, asking, "Senior brother, are you awake?" She reached out to hug him, saying, "Don't speak anymore." She even requested, "Kiss me." Shia Yuan's body and mind were screaming, what was he hesitating for? Without any shame, he lunged forward to kiss little junior sister. She stretched her arms and legs, placing them on the tip of Shia Yuan's nose, saying, "Senior brother is so strong." He was excited and said, "Senior brother can't hold back anymore, little junior sister is really charming." He dove into ABC for a while. Little junior sister lay on top, asking, "Does senior brother like me like this?" Shia Yuan happily replied, "Yes." He touched her cheek, complimenting, "Little junior sister is the most beautiful." She unexpectedly started to cry and asked, "If I'm liked, why hasn't senior brother come to find me yet? Shia Yuan comforted her, don't worry, senior brother will definitely find you, even if he doesn't eat or drink. On the other hand, he raised an eyebrow and thought, find you? Aren't you right here? What am I saying? Forget it. He leaned in and said, just now, senior brother didn't kiss enough. The little junior sister refused again, no. Then she whispered in Shia Yuan's ear, if you find me, I will give you something. This made him feel excited, and he pinned her down, saying, I will catch you now. Shia Yuan suddenly woke up, his drool soaking the pillow, tightly holding on, calling, little junior sister. Looking back, he realized it was the pillow and hurriedly threw it behind him, shouting, what the heck? He fell silent, quickly checking on his younger sibling, and the result startled him, making him exclaim, damn. Then, in a fit of anger, he slapped him repeatedly and yelled, shameless, too shameless. You couldn't find anything, yet you are a decent gentleman. How could you do such things with the junior sister in your dreams? I'll smash you. The next morning, Shia Yuan carried a metal rod and went around. He irritably thought, I've searched the whole city and still can't find the white crab that emits a white light. Surely we guessed wrong, it didn't come here at all. But it can't be said that there was no harvest. I have regained my spirit, junior sister, before the great battle with me, my cultivation has also reached the half-divine realm. I am certain that my spring dreams must have been left behind by the junior sister's divine consciousness in the film, absolutely not because I am shameless. He raised his eyes, firmly believing, if that's the case, the junior sister could truly still be alive, just encountering some troublesome matter, hence sending her divine consciousness to deliver dreams to me. He lowered his eyes again, affirming, indeed, I must not let the junior sister wait too long. It seems that with the event of divine punishment occurring, I inexplicably woke up, the disappearance of the magic clan and humanity, along with the divine consciousness of little junior sister, everything is undoubtedly related to that flying monster. To understand clearly, I must find it. But to find the monster, I must first have the ability to traverse realms, to travel a day's journey in 1,000 miles. If I could regain half of my previous power, then there would be nothing in this world that I could not find. He stroked his chin, calling to himself, Rang Shia Yuan, you are supreme, you must remain calm. Half of my power. He suddenly opened his eyes wide and thought, that's right. He lightly tapped his forehead and remembered, I can return to Zishaan. Zishaan is the stronghold of my true self. There are all kinds of good things there, and even the treasure cave that I dug myself, filled with treasures. If I take everything out and use it, I can surely recover at least 4 parts of my power. Shia Yuan's evil energy rose, revealing brutality in his eyes, and said, this world has been ravaged to this extent, there are no talents left to use. If I recover my power first, then this world will become a toy in my hands, right? Don't even mention finding one person to conquer a city, no one can stop me from seizing the entire land. Rang Shia Yuan, you truly live up to your title of supreme. He punched his fist in the air and resolutely said, all right, Zishaan is only. He suddenly hesitated and said, only, then broke into a sweat, thinking, for over 4,000 miles, just walking would take about 300 to 500 days. He held his head, gritted his teeth, and shouted, 300 to 500 days. He helplessly screamed. Although little junior sister is still alive now, after 300 to 500 days, perhaps the grass on the grave will grow over a foot high. I still have to endure the scorching summer sun. The sunlight, hearing this, was angry and cursed, damn it. Undeterred, Shia Yuan proceeded to go home. On the first day under the blazing sun, he felt like a dried corpse, exclaiming, I'm about to die. With tears streaming down his face, Shia Yuan reminisced, I remember the year the elder of the magic clan advised me. Though the words were hard to hear, I did not take them seriously. He knelt down in the sand, lamenting, not listening to elders leads to immediate suffering. Recalling the elder's heartfelt advice, although you have half a divine identity, you are still not a god. Breaking through your cultivation is not enough, you also need to strengthen your physical body to be able to cultivate this mortal form completely. Shia Yuan laughed heartily on his throne, dismissing, the elder is over-exaggerating. Is there any place in this world that still requires my mortal body? The elder said, but couldn't say anything else. Shia Yuan remained arrogant, conceited with his strength, snorted coldly, and waved his hand. Above the cage, a half-human, half-demon creature appeared, a bloodthirsty killer named Pilg. The elder was somewhat horrified. This is a bloodthirsty miasma, the king bird. This demonic object is extremely bloodthirsty and brutal, loves to choose people to devour, and its speed is unbelievable. Moreover, it is very skilled at stirring up people's hearts and mesmerizing their minds. It is very difficult to deal with. What do you intend to do about this kind of illusory demonic object? Shia Yuan replied in a very calm voice, I'm bored, I'll train a bit. He ordered the cage to be opened. When the cage was opened, the king bird was still a bit dazed. The elder had taken precautions and shouted, Supreme Lord, be careful. This demonic object is definitely not one to be trifled with. Shia Yuan seemed unconcerned, calling out, You sneaky monster, what are you staring at? Don't dare to come here. Hearing the call, the king bird immediately jumped up, using its force to fly towards Shia Yuan while screeching loudly. The king bird's hand was close to reaching him, yet Shia Yuan remained calm with his chin resting on his hand. Then he raised his hand to perform a technique, his gaze suddenly turning serious, and yelled, determined. The king bird rushed in and was firmly locked in place, unable to move, making sounds like, cap cap. Shia Yuan asked with amusement, do you still want to escape? The king bird, determined to fight back, opened its mouth wide, clawing at the technique, causing its body to self-inflict heavy wounds. Shia Yuan clenched his fist, looking down in disdain, you don't know your own strength. The eye sockets of the king bird turned red, and it cried out several more times before exploding in midair. What fell down was just a strange object inside its body that startled the elder, who stammered, this. Shia Yuan coldly laughed and asked, Elder, do you still think I need to refine my body strength? The answer was one he posed to himself, responding, yes, of course. He confidently declared, when I reach Zishaan, I will definitely train hard. Not only will I regain my cultivation, but I will also train this body to the point where it cannot be pierced by blades, cannot be melted by boiling water, to become like a steel beam. He twisted his body, thinking, that way, little junior sister will surely like me even more. Shia Yuan raised his hand to block the sunlight shining directly on his face, looking at the sun, I've been walking for 3 hours now. Out of his mind, he cried out, is it only 3 hours? Winking, he once again radiated charisma, reassuring himself, although the beginning is difficult, as long as I continue to make efforts, as long as I never give up and persist tirelessly, I will definitely achieve success. Just watch the indestructible will and perseverance of myself with. Having said that, Shia Yuan had already rolled over to sleep at some point. From above, the most striking figure was the pair of red eyes staring down intently. Shia Yuan was still sleeping soundly, calling out, little junior sister, don't do that. He dreamt that the little junior sister affectionately called out, brother, only when we're satisfied should we think about intimacy, when we're hungry, where do we get the strength to indulge in feelings? Let's elevate the relationship between senior brother and junior sister to a new level. Shia Yuan kissed her and said, little junior sister makes a very valid point. Senior brother is currently so hungry that my chest is sticking to my back. If not, would you like to feel it a bit? At this moment, a large mutated rat charged forward. Shia Yuan opened his eyes wide and immediately used a metal rod to block its sparse but sharp teeth. Shia Yuan scoffed, looking down at it, just a bunch of cowardly mice, daring to attempt to ambush me. The mouse emitted electric sparks and jumped into the air. Just as it landed, the iron rod held by Shia Yuan was electrified and jolted him, causing him to drop it and exclaim, damn. His surprised gaze turned towards the electric mouse, saying, I didn't expect you to know lightning magic. The mouse squeaked, prompting Shia Yuan to be on guard, raise his hand to remove his shirt, spin it around a few times to make it into a circle, and say, remember the old days, when I hadn't established my foundation yet. The other mice recognized this and squeaked, squeak squeak, it's exposed. Before Shia Yuan could use that shirt to grab the iron rod, it lunged at him. He didn't panic and even bragged a little, saying, with just this move, I've once defeated someone who used lightning magic. The mouse in front also charged, but Shia Yuan had already seized the iron rod. Both mice clawed at him simultaneously, as if wanting to tear him in two. However, Shia Yuan spun around to dodge the fatal blow, then kicked up, causing one mouse to dislocate its jaw. As for the other, Shia Yuan pierced it through with the iron rod, leaving the other mouse terrified on the spot. The pierced mouse rolled its eyes and died immediately. After a few minutes, the remaining one bellowed, squeaking, a mouse can die but cannot be humiliated, I'll fight you to the death. Shia Yuan exclaimed with interest, are you getting angry? It's just a meal on the table, and you can already get mad. After saying this, he forcefully plunged the iron rod through the mouth of the rat. Once he was done, he struck a very cool pose and arrogantly declared, in this world, no one can withstand a single blow from me. Shia Yuan sat down next to the rat, his face suddenly paling as he said, forget about the meal on the table just now. Looking at this scene, it's really too unsightly. I'm a supreme being. He stood up, even more determined as he stated, that's right, I absolutely cannot eat rats. Even if the mutated rats taste better and their meat is more tender, it just isn't dignified. I am. Shia Yuan turned to leave. A moment later, he was seen carrying two rats with him. Shia Yuan used water to wash the spices, took a knife to cut the large rat into smaller pieces, added more spices, and then mischievously laughed as he tried a piece, his tongue licking the spices while he cried out, damn it. Shia Yuan held the pot, still trying to cover it up, saying, I have tested for poison for those who will live in the future, there's no poison, so it's safe to eat. We will immediately put it into the spirit-infused stone, mainly to provide food for the refugees who are lucky enough to survive. He bared his teeth, took a deep breath, and exclaimed, stylish. This authentic self is truly stylish. Shia Yuan stood by the charcoal stove, put down the last few bones, then lay on the ground with his stomach swollen, murmuring, I'm so full. As he picked his teeth, he marveled, it's strange, the meat of this mutated rat is surprisingly good. He sat up and continued to praise, as if it were a divine gift, each piece makes one reluctant and hard to forget. Shia Yuan's face suddenly turned pale, and his stomach grumbled. It could also be that this incarnation is too hungry, this damn weak body. Shia Yuan stood up and cheerfully said, all right then, I've eaten my fill, let's set off quickly. Now that my spirits are high, we must move on a bit more. After a while, Shia Yuan arrived at a village. His footsteps halted, reading, Fu Village. Veins bulged on his hands as he deployed spiritual energy to protect Fu Village. He took out the spirit-infused stone and excitedly said, let me gather some supplies for use on the journey. As Shia Yuan entered the village, his gaze caught sight of the clothes hanging on the line. His hand went into the torn hole and exclaimed, oh mother, it's hard to understand, the pants are like this and yet you're still wearing them, is this what wealth looks like? He looked over and saw a knife, feeling excited, wow, there's a knife. He raised his hand and commanded, come here. The knife moved to Shia Yuan's position. He grabbed it and was delighted, laughing heartily. Shia Yuan, with an arrogant demeanor, slashed a few times, the knife's edge sharp and skillful. He touched the knife, sighed, I'm full now, really have strength. He turned around and saw a woven jar. Shia Yuan picked it up, shook it, and asked, what's inside? He poured out the contents and asked again, what is it, elixirs? When he saw what was inside, Shia Yuan jumped back in shock, yelling, mother. It's a dead cockroach. After a while, he had searched through the whole village and said coldly, this Fu village is really too poor. Shia Yuan stroked his chin, puzzled, that's strange, this name Fu village sounds familiar. He thought again, seems like I recall it now, he remembered not long ago he had led an army here to pillage. Shia Yuan said in a domineering tone, this deity wants to go to Xiangning City, you all get out of the way. The strong men in the village shouted, don't dream. The city lord's family of Xiangning City owes us in Fu village a debt. If you want to enter Xiangning City, you must first step over our corpses. In Shia Yuan's eyes, they seemed insignificant. Huh? One said, what does my true self need your corpses for? It would be nothing interesting for others to say my true self is powerful and bullies the weak. He snapped his fingers to call his generals, who seemed startled and asked, what do you want to do? Do you dare to step forward and try? What can you do, even if you are supreme? At most, we will die together. Shia Yuan found the phrase, die together, amusing. His fierce gaze pressed down on the entire village as he ordered, clean out this village for me, take everything away, plunder everything, if it can't be taken, smash it, burn it, leave not a single strand of hair. But do not harm the lives of the people. I will make them wish they were dead. The demon objects, following Shia Yuan's directive, charged in to slaughter the villagers. Shia Yuan said, you call yourselves Fu Village, let's see how wealthy you really are. He raised his hand and called, people, his expression changing like a demon, and issued his command. Scrape off the first character on the stone tablet at the village entrance and replace it with fake. But the main crime causing the return of poverty to the once rich village is still painfully evident. Shia Yuan was angry, stamping his feet in frustration. If I had known earlier, I would have left behind some supplies. How infuriating. I was too hasty back then. He suppressed his anger, sighed, and said, well then. He looked at a house and said, this courtyard looks decent enough. We can sleep here for a night, but we still have to get up early and hit the road tomorrow. In the quiet of the late night, Shia Yuan looked up and thought, the range of influence of this white light is also limited. This village is a bit far from Xiangning City, so it has been preserved much better. He frowned and thought, Zishaan is 108,000 miles away from Xiangning City, and it could be completely unharmed. I must return quickly. However, why can the white light cause mutations in animals but wipe out humans? Is the white light specifically meant to purify humans, while everything else is affected randomly? Why is there such a difference between humans and other creatures? He still had the mood to say, after being illuminated by the light, the meat becomes even more delicious. Shia Yuan fell into a deep sleep. Is there anything wrong with these creatures? Do they deserve to be eliminated like this? The gentle moonlight and cool breeze, along with two terrifying beasts outside the window making a wah-wah sound, woke Shia Yuan from his slumber. He thought, what kind of monsters are these? They speak a wild language I have never heard before. He grabbed a knife, cautiously looked at the two beasts, and slowly approached the window to take a look outside. He soon discovered that they were scarlet flame beasts. He frowned, feeling that something was off. In this world, demon beasts are classified into 3 ranks. Low rank are mindless, mid rank are mute, and high rank demon beasts have intentions and can speak. Scarlet flame beasts are only reluctantly classified as mid rank and cannot speak, so why can these two talk? Could it be that they have mutated? The scarlet flame beasts outside were digging in the ground. Shia Yuan turned away and thought to himself, if I were to attack, it would definitely not be a wise decision. Right now, I am just an ordinary being and cannot possibly fight against 2 mid-rank demon beasts. He put down his weapons and formed a seal to open the stone lid, taking out a pill. He picked up this, and this again, I can't remember clearly, perhaps it's some kind of tonic to strengthen the body. Shia Yuan pouted and said, what in the world? He looked at the door, thinking, the urgent matter right now is to understand what these 2 scarlet flame beasts are saying. If they are completely disregarding me, then I won't disturb them. If they really want to lower my guard to launch a surprise attack, then I will be prepared. Shia Yuan looked at the several bottles of pills with a dark expression, just this mess of pills, which bottle actually holds the immortal beast communication that can understand the language of beasts. He stopped thinking and opened all 3 bottles, saying, no more thinking, just eat all of them. Shia Yuan drank all 3 bottles of pills at once and thought, these pills were found by mortals. What kind of strange pills can mortals come into contact with? It must just be regular tonics for physical enhancement. He chewed the pills and complimented, the taste isn't bad. Then he walked to the window and truly heard the scarlet flame beast say, the mortal in that room, I saw him enter the village this afternoon. Shia Yuan's expression darkened, thinking, indeed, they had noticed me before. 2 scarlet flame beasts laughed loudly, bragging, that person wants to rummage through discarded items, but they're truly a novice. It's ridiculous, they only know to search on the ground, unaware that they need to dig holes. One must know that many of humanity's treasures are hidden underground. It makes me die of laughter, truly a fool, truly a fool. Shia Yuan gritted his teeth, thinking they were insulting him. The two scarlet flame beasts cheered. Let's take advantage of the fact that he's sleeping to take all the belongings in the village, leaving nothing behind. Right, leave nothing at all. Shia Yuan's face turned ugly with anger. A gentleman can be killed but cannot be humiliated. At this point, I must take revenge step by step. Determined as he was, he turned around, crying and thinking, I should go to sleep right away. He climbed onto the bed and covered his ears, telling himself, just sleep, I won't hear them insulting me anymore. Shia Yuan turned over, causing the pill bottle to fall to the ground, and the paper on top flew out, revealing another piece of paper that read, Golden Spear not blocked by wax. After a while, his body became hot, and the sound of the bottle and pills was quite clear. A woman's hand gently caressed Shia Yuan's cheek, calling out, Supreme Lord, please wake up. She wandered down to his firm abs, then tore away his clothing, saying, Supreme Lord, if you don't wake up, I will. Just then, Shia Yuan woke up, grasping her hand, and asked, Who are you? The woman panted softly, her breath warm, calling out again, Supreme Lord. She licked her lips and asked, You don't mind, do you? Shia Yuan held his head, asking back, I am the Supreme, what is going on? Wait, why can't I remember where this is? The girl leaned in closer to reply, This is naturally the soft place of the joyous forest. She pushed Shia Yuan, who was still dazed, and as she turned to ask, she fell right into the embrace of 3 other girls. They kept calling out, Supreme, you are so amazing, the body of the Supreme is so beautiful, I really want to, Supreme Lord, look at me. He blushed and asked in confusion, What is happening? The girl in front of Shia Yuan looked even more startled, Please, Lord, enjoy this glass of milk, it's fresh milk. She held one hand on her cheek and poured milk into Shia Yuan's mouth with the other, saying, Please drink it hot, my lord. He broke free, coughing and exclaiming, That's enough. Then he threw the glass of milk away, causing the other girls to bow their heads. The girl, confused, asked her, I haven't punished you yet. Why does my lord want to punish me? Shia Yuan said angrily, raising his voice, You ruined my only outfit, how am I supposed to go outside tomorrow? The girl heard this and knelt down, pleading for the Supreme Lord to spare her. She leaned forward, sticking out her tongue, and asked, If that's the case, can this servant compensate my lord? She began to undress as she spoke, My servant's clothing. Then she took off the thin outer garment completely, continuing, I can undress myself. But at that moment, Shia Yuan had thrown the glass of milk into her face, shouting, Shameless demoness. The girl wiped the water off her face and said, It's so cold. Looking at her, Shia Yuan felt something was off. The girl was trembling with excitement, saying, I like it so much, I really like it. She rushed over, crying, Supreme Lord, I want more, trample on me again. After a night of passion. The next day, Shia Yuan stepped outside with his cane, feeling worn out, and sighed, Evil drugs harm people, indeed, it's excessive indulgence. He felt his body drained of strength, bit his lip in anger, and swore, The damned healing needles must not be allowed to return. Once I regain my strength, the first thing I will do is eradicate everything that leads men astray and restore a clean and green civilized world for the people. As he walked, he raised his hand and said, Okay. Recovering my cultivation is the top priority. With motivation, I will move forward at maximum speed. The sun rose and then shifted to the moon. Shia Yuan, leaning on his cane, lamented, Today I must have traveled quite a distance, I really am impressive. He panted, his face like he had just fallen into water, and said, The humiliation of the evil drugs from yesterday has passed. He looked around and discovered it was still the same village, frozen in place due to a journey of just 6 meters in a day. I, Shia Yuan, a supreme being who led troops to sweep the world, wiping out all living beings, summoned the unparalleled divine punishment in the world through my years of effort. In the end, he only became a poor person, with tattered clothes. Shia Yuan walked while complaining, starving and emaciated, his stomach growled from hunger. He scratched his head, feeling troubled, and said, "At this rate, who knows when I'll be able to reach Zishaan." He sat down on the sand and asked, "Maybe I should just give up." As his hand touched his head in thought, he mused, "Rang Shia Yuan, did heaven let you fall into this situation today because it doesn't want to see the demon lord grow stronger? Do you really want to act against the will of heaven? If I stop, life will definitely be more comfortable than this long journey. With my hard-working hands, having enough to eat and sleep isn't a problem." Suddenly, he sensed something beneath him, picked it up, and said, "What is this, bothering me?" It was the diary that Shia Yuan hastily dusted off, saying, "Ah, when did little junior sister's diary fall out? It's my treasured possession." He flipped through a few pages, smiling to himself, "Anyway, I don't want to move at this moment. I read up to here last time, right? There are only a few days left until the Lunar New Year after Tianqi. Why is today's recording not related to the New Year?" Shia Yuan read, "No, for me today is already the New Year, because I didn't expect to be able to be with Shia Yuan, senior brother today." He asked absent-mindedly, "What do you mean?" "I don't remember anything." The scene shifted back to that day when little junior sister was running quickly in the forest and ran into Shia Yuan. She raised her hand and shouted, "Senior brother, save me." As she ran towards him calling for senior brother, the spirit beasts behind her launched an ultimate killing strike. Claws reached out, wanting to grab little junior sister. Shia Yuan quickly ran over without hesitation, taking the blow for her. He held her in his arms, shielding her despite his wounded back. The spirit beast flapped its wings and took off. Shia Yuan coldly turned to it with a bloodshot gaze and shouted, "Get lost." The spirit beast was sweating and frantically flapped its wings, fleeing for its life. Shia Yuan tapped her head and asked, "Did little junior sister sneak out behind the mountain again?" She shyly turned her head and asked, "How did senior brother know?" He replied, "That large bird is a spiritual item that the master guards at the mouth of the mountain behind. Anyone who dares to intrude into the mountain will definitely not escape its attack." Little junior sister stammered, "Ah ha ha. It was my first time going, and I didn't know anything." Shia Yuan pinched little junior sister's cheek and affectionately reminded her, "Don't do that again, it's very dangerous." Little junior sister suddenly remembered and asked, "Senior brother, did you get hurt when you helped me block an attack just now?" Shia Yuan said, "I'm fine." She took his hand gently and said, "What do you mean fine? Your face is already pale. I have good medicine for wounds, come with me to my room." In Luo Huai's room, little junior sister asked, "Senior brother, can I undress?" After removing his clothes, she saw a large injury and gasped, "Oh my God." She touched his wound and said, "It's too serious." Shia Yuan couldn't take it anymore and called out, "Junior sister, hurry and apply the medicine." Little junior sister replied, "Okay. This medicine is a bit hot at first, but it will gradually cool down, so senior brother just endure it a bit." She poured the medicine onto her tongue and then licked it onto Shia Yuan's wound, the liquid flowing down to the floor. After reading, he widened his eyes and exclaimed, "Wow! I told you, how could I forget?" That day in my memory was clearly just an ordinary day, the day the medicine was applied. Junior sister, so it's actually about licking? After reading little junior sister's diary, my hands trembled slightly with excitement, and my face was flushed with enthusiasm. This diary is highly addictive. That day, after finishing my work with senior brother, I was so excited that I couldn't sleep all night. I spent the whole night creating a drawing of a glowing firefly to hang on my bed curtain, admiring it every evening. Unfortunately, I almost got discovered by senior brother afterwards, and I had to heartlessly burn it. That day, I again couldn't sleep, so I secretly drew a small picture in my diary as a keepsake. Shia Yuan was both surprised and thrilled, thinking, little junior sister is really perverted, but I like it. After reading the second part, Shia Yuan felt invigorated and stood up, "No. I absolutely cannot stop, I must not give up. Little junior sister is so peculiar, I definitely can't let anyone else find out, she can only belong to me." After saying that, he dashed off, shouting, Zishaan supreme of yours is here. Shia Yuan flew away like the wind. On the third day of the primary competition, he was still excitedly saying, hee hee ha ha, this path is opened by me, this tree is planted by me. On the first day, Shia Yuan's mind was almost peaceful. When a scarlet flame beast pounced at him, he simply gave it a light blow, saying, take this punch. It flew far away, and he angrily continued, I told you not to disturb me, why didn't you listen? You're interfering with my trash picking. He bent down to pick something up and proudly declared, being supreme is just a job, picking up trash is life. On the third day, he chased it again, shouting, come here. On the fourth day, during the intermediate battle, Shia Yuan threw stones at those monkeys. By the fifth day, during the advanced battle, he had dealt with the forest monkeys and left, saying, daring to throw liquid waste, if you are unmannerly, then I will be ungrateful. On the 18th day, he was again chased by a wild boar, running with his pants falling down, shouting, don't come any closer. He clasped his hands as if about to attain enlightenment, saying, as for that Zishaan or whatever, I've decided to just go with the flow. Shia Yuan arrived at a city and said, alright, where shall we go next? He pointed happily and said, it's Nan City Nanyang. This sign seems a bit strange, half of it is intact, while the other half is severely damaged. Is this signaling something? Shia Yuan jumped and flew over the city wall. Looking at the scenery inside left him in shock. His expression was heavy as he said, in the past, I only felt that power was truly enormous, but today I feel more fearful because it is so precise. He stood on the roof looking down and exclaimed, advancing could destroy an entire fortress, retreating could control the range of destruction within a hair's breadth. What kind of monstrous power is this? His eyes lit up as he said, in that case, my true self can only. Then he did several flips before landing, with an excited state of mind continuing, just go over there to pick up some trash. As dusk fell, he saw a piece of meat still hanging on a wire and was overjoyed, wow, supreme golden dried meat. He embraced the piece of meat passionately and said, just look at this color, one glance and you can tell it's 10-year-old pork. And smelling this fragrance, it's definitely smoked fruit wood, no doubt about it. Shia Yuan suddenly looked down at his feet and saw a ball. He poked it and then kicked it back so it rolled down. He stared wide-eyed and asked, what is that? In Nanyang City at night, Shia Yuan picked up the ball, saying nothing. He stretched out his hand to see better, growing more curious, not transparent but hard, yet lightweight. This mysterious material, I have never seen anything like it before. It must be something rare. His principle of picking up trash was to choose what was edible, so he threw it away, saying, but what's the point? It can't be eaten. Shia Yuan drooled looking at the piece of meat, chuckling, saying, just come and serve me, the precious golden sausage meat, first let's make a stir-fried chicken dish, and add the old pickled mustard greens I just dug up. Focused on that piece of meat, he didn't realize the ball was still rolling on the ground. One side of it reflected onto the screen and turned into an eye observing Shia Yuan wielding the knife. After a while, he clasped his hands in gratitude for the unknown mysterious force that made the dish taste so wonderful. The braised meat with pickled greens was complete. As he took a bite, he couldn't help but praise, I can't resist it, really can't resist it. He closed his eyes, starting to dream. This feeling, soft, juicy, rich and smooth. It feels like, the feeling of joy and satisfaction is like playing with a fairy. Shia Yuan licked his lips continuously, he, so amazing, so awesome. Shia Yuan burped, leaned back in his chair, looking at the round figure, thinking, looks like this is an idiot. Shia Yuan lay down on the bed, satisfied, saying, full and well fed, remember to take out the trash and sleep early. After a while, waiting for Shia Yuan to fall into a deep sleep, the round figure finally checked his diary. Today I ate too much, starting to think of little junior sister's rosy lips. Checking what he wanted to surprise it with, so it turns out you like this style. Shia Yuan turned over. Behind him, a dark shadow appeared, slimy like liquid, watching him as he called junior sister, drooling. 2 hands grew from within, constantly waving, then grasping the liquid on both sides to tear it apart. Inside was the body of a sweet girl who stepped 1 foot onto the bed and gradually moved closer to Shia Yuan. Shia Yuan turned over again, asking, "Who is it? Can't sleep in the middle of the night?" He just closed his eyes and said, "Go to sleep." Then he quickly opened his eyes, causing the girl to fearfully roll to the side, while he exclaimed, "Oh wow, a giant black rat." He looked at the pure white back and asked, "Is this?" He frowned, annoyed, and said, "Are you sick? It's the middle of the night and you're scaring people by combing your hair, doesn't that look a bit like a monster?" After saying that, Shia Yuan blushed again and called out, little junior sister." Looking at that girl again, his hands and feet trembled with excitement. "This hair-combing posture is too familiar, isn't this the little junior sister I've been longing for day and night?" He reached out and asked, "Little junior sister, is it you?" As soon as he added the word little, he joyfully thought, it's exactly the shape of the little junior sister. He asked, "Little junior sister, why are you here? And how did you find me so accurately?" He scratched his head in confusion. Clearly there was nothing before sleeping. He grinned and said, "I know now, little junior sister or whatever, it's that unyielding golden spear that's still in effect." Recalling the girls in the dream realm, Shia Yuan couldn't help but drool again and blushed while thinking, last time in the dream there was a group of female monsters, even though they were seductive, they weren't the faces I longed for day and night. Now this completion of the cycle has brought the person I want most into my dreams. Shia Yuan turned the girl around, and before he could do anything, he pinned her down, whispering in her ear, "If this dream realm can connect our dreams, so that you can feel my influence in the dream, wouldn't that be interesting?" The girl reached up and wrapped her arms around Shia Yuan's neck as she lifted him. Shia Yuan did not hesitate to lead her into pleasure. The girl's cries only excited him further, and he said, "The voice of little junior sister is still as lovely as ever, especially in the quiet night when no one can hear, it sounds even more alluring." He just said, "You are wicked." When the girl seized his shoulders, Shia Yuan called out, "Little junior sister." The girl flipped the situation and pressed him down beneath her. He asked, "What are you doing?" The girl boldly grabbed both of Shia Yuan's hands and raised them up. He chuckled softly, unable to contain his delight, saying, "So it turns out little junior sister prefers to be on top." His brow furrowed slightly as he suggested, "In my opinion, little junior sister should ease up a bit. My hands are about to break, it hurts too much." He suddenly remembered. Is the dream realm really this realistic? No, that's not right. In the past, in dreams, the seductive women appeared weightless. But now, little junior sister is firmly sitting on my waist. Shia Yuan excitedly hugged her tightly. "Little junior sister, it really is you, it's not a dream. Senior brother hasn't seen anyone for so many days." He spoke while becoming emotional and on the verge of tears. The girl patted his back, saying, "Don't be afraid, senior brother, don't be afraid." But when Shia Yuan heard that, he cried even louder, "Senior brother misses you, little junior sister. These past few days, holding your diary, I've realized that the days spent as the Demon King were just smoke and illusions. The days spent alongside the sect and everyone are the memories engraved deeply in my bones." The girl asked, "Senior brother, what do you want to find me for?" Shia Yuan replied, "I've thought countless times these past days, if I could meet you again, if I could truly find you, I. He hugged her tightly, sobbing as he continued, "Senior brother wants to tell you that I've liked you for a long time." In an instant, his face turned lewd, unable to hold back as he asked, "Would you agree to give senior brother a kiss?" "Senior brother is ready now, if you agree, then come on." The girl was sweating, evaluating. Shia Yuan closed his eyes, confused, "Why doesn't little junior sister kiss me? Is it that she's too shy to pursue?" But in her diary, little junior sister is very uncontrolled. He squinted his eyes and in front of him was a disheveled face with unbrushed teeth, yelling, "Kiss, kiss." At that moment, Shia Yuan covered his face, turning pale, exclaiming, "Oh my God, Mom." Then he punched her hard, causing her to fly up, shouting, "What the hell is this, go die for me." Her arm fell off, dropping down, making Shia Yuan even more terrified as he held his head, screaming, "Holy crap, my arm is broken." His hands trembled violently, yet he still raised the knife, stuttering, "You, what exactly are you?" The girl raised her hand and said, don't be scared." She reattached her other arm, saying, "The broken arm is gone, but I still have one left." Shia Yuan stood frozen, speechless, thinking, forbidden training, the same path of demon in martial arts. She raised the reattached arm and replied, "As for what I am." Shia Yuan's cold sweat poured out like a shower, terrified, saying, "You, don't come over here." But she still stepped forward, saying, "I." Shia Yuan tripped over the bed and fell, asking, "What do you want to do?" His limbs trembled, his tongue twisted, unable to speak, just pointing, "What exactly are you joking about?" The girl crawled to him with her face turned backward and replied, "I don't remember anything at all, my brain is damaged." As she spoke, her face distorted, sending chills down Shia Yuan's spine, horrified. It was clear she had suffered severe burns, her face had been burned to such an extent. The girl pointed at her face and asked, "Don't you like my face?" "I can." Her hand pointed to the book, continuing, "In that book, you draw the faces you create yourself." Looking at the book, Shia Yuan said, "You're looking at it wrong." He suddenly recalled and asked in confusion, "Wait, what does it mean to create a face, big brother?" The girl activated the system to explain, "Creating a face means making a face that you like. If you're not satisfied, you can create one yourself." Shia Yuan was surprised and stunned. She continued, "Use your finger to touch the screen. If you learn, you'll understand, the operation is very simple." He excitedly said, "Make the eyes a little bigger, and add some more hair." No matter how he adjusted it, it ended up resembling Sun Wukong, making Shia Yuan laugh uncontrollably. "Ha ha ha, monkey brother, is that you?" He pressed and pressed the system, and her face transformed into that of an old lady with a beard, causing him to laugh until he cried. The hands clapped rhythmically, "Ha ha ha, it was really interesting, very interesting." Unable to endure any longer, she grabbed Shia Yuan's hand, preparing to press, saying, "Next is to shape A." Her face also tensed up, exclaiming, "That's enough, you've been playing all night, I'm almost out of battery here." Shia Yuan scratched his head, asking, "Really?" He wondered, what does out of battery mean? She replied, "No more energy, need to recharge, it's called charging." Shia Yuan cracked his knuckles, saying, "So that's it, and you need to charge, it seems you are a spiritual item and not a monster, so I will shape your face here. I thought it through carefully just now." He reached out his hand, adjusting her willow-shaped eyebrows, cherry-like mouth, white teeth, jade-like lips, and head like a lotus. The next morning, Shia Yuan walked out of the room, stretching, feeling cheerful. He turned and asked, "What's up, come out, why be shy?" She reached out, placed her hand on his, saying, "Correct. This is right." The first thing she saw was his chest, then his handsome face and strong body, which made her feel shy. Shia Yuan said, "Xiao Yuan, I'll call you Xiao Yuan from now on, after all, you don't remember anything. Later, we will walk the same path together, helping each other." He crossed his arms in satisfaction and said, "I am the king of garbage, and you are the precious consort." Then he thought, the queen of garbage, of course, is still my little junior sister. Xiao Yuan clasped her hands and replied, "According to the basic setting rules, the master needs to sign a master-servant contract with me before naming." Shia Yuan extended his pinky and asked, "How do we do the master-servant contract, like pinky swear?" "Ha ha ha." Suddenly, Xiao Yuan bit his finger, making him exclaim, "A." She was pleased and thought, the contract is complete, the master's DNA has been recorded, from now on I will be Xiao Yuan of my master. Suddenly, she gasped and was sucked back into the orb, then fell down. Shia Yuan panicked and ran over, asking, "Xiao Yuan consort, are you okay?" The orb responded, "Master, Xiao Yuan is out of battery, Master Xiao Yuan is out of battery, urgent, urgent." Shia Yuan scratched his face in surprise, "So you are the iron ball that couldn't be eaten yesterday." She called again, "Master, Xiao Yuan is out of battery, Master Xiao Yuan is out of battery, urgent, urgent." Shia Yuan nodded and said, "All right." Looking at how hard we are trying to help her, shall we go look for a charger for her? He looked in one direction, his mind stalled, saying, it's just, where can we find a charger, how can we charge it? How do we charge it? Shia Yuan cried out again, Master, Shia Yuan is out of battery, Master, Shia Yuan is out of battery, urgent, urgent. Shia Yuan turned pale, realizing, out of battery, it seems we can't communicate, this is really bad. The ball called out again, Master, Shia Yuan is out of battery, Master, Shia Yuan is out of battery, urgent, urgent. This gave Shia Yuan a headache, and he tried to reassure, I know you're worried, but please don't be hasty. In his ears, the voice continued, Master, Shia Yuan is out of battery, Master, Shia Yuan is out of battery, urgent, urgent. This made Shia Yuan's face darken, thinking, how annoying, it seems the dream of hugging a girl to sleep tonight will have to be shattered. In Nanyang City, Shia Yuan was still picking up garbage. He picked up a kettle and asked, what does the charger look like? Shia Yuan beside him anxiously exclaimed, charger, a long charging cable, it looks like this, hurry, hurry, plug it into the charging port. Shia Yuan took it and asked, where is the charging port? I haven't even found the charging cable yet. He got frustrated, shook the marble, and said loudly, there is no charging port. She only told me to charge it for her without explaining how to charge it. Come on, wake up. The marble kept saying, too much, too much, too much. Then it ran out of battery, making him even more desperate and regretful, am I too stupid, too slow, or what? Unable to do anything else, he stuffed it into his side pocket, saying, well then, if I can't make sense of it, I'm really lacking. So let's just pick up all the trash today and figure it out later. Shia Yuan sighed in helplessness, thinking, solar energy, so dumb. That night, Shia Yuan held up the pot of meat high, enjoying it, and said, the upgraded version of braised meat is still delicious. He glanced over and was startled, nearly flipping the pot of meat, asking, when did you come back? Shia Yuan replied, solar energy. Shia Yuan felt enlightened and said, solar energy, oh, it really is solar energy. He sat down and asked, so you must have charged it fully, right? He wondered, what is solar energy? Could it really be the energy from the sun? He didn't ask anymore, thinking that if he did, he would definitely be looked down upon. Well, let's pretend to understand clearly then. Shia Yuan tossed her hair and replied with an irritated, surprising Shia Yuan, why do I feel like your personality has changed a bit? Could it be that your character still follows the style of the face I created for you? Shia Yuan coldly responded with an, and he said, that's acceptable. After eating, he made the bed and said, eat well, drink enough, and sleep soundly. Suddenly, Shia Yuan hugged him from behind, causing Shia Yuan to panic and ask, why are you getting so close to me? Your chest is too hard and hitting me. Shia Yuan replied, to sleep with you. I looked it up, what does noble consort mean? Being a noble consort is a profession that a noble king sleeps with. Shia Yuan felt embarrassed and exclaimed, stop, stop. I was just saying that casually. Her master had sworn in her heart to be a proper person, to abandon desires, and eliminate evils. He turned around, waved his hand, smiled awkwardly, and continued, moreover, even if she is a noble consort, it's still like being a brother. How could you sleep with a brother? Shia Yuan said, I don't understand. Shia Yuan frowned and emphasized, in short, you sleep on the floor. After saying that, he bundled up in the blanket to sleep, leaving Shia Yuan puzzled. She crossed her arms and wondered, if the master doesn't like women, then what does he like? The next day, Shia Yuan stretched energetically. Stepping outside, he exclaimed, indeed, being away from women makes for a better sleep. Shia Yuan, where are you? Let's get ready to set off. He turned around searching, could she have gone to find a sunny place to recharge? He placed his hands on his hips and shouted, Shia Yuan, we still have to go to Zishaan, hurry up. Shia Yuan replied, Master, I'm here. Shia Yuan turned around in shock, exclaiming, oh my. Shia Yuan said, right here. Shia Yuan, relieved, called, Shia Yuan. He leaned against the car, saying, I know, for wheels, a box, that's a car. Shia Yuan said, it's a long way, we will drive to Zishaan. Shia Yuan suddenly stroked his chin, calculating something. Shia Yuan asked, Master, what is it? He looked at her and asked, this car, after all, is similar to a horse-drawn carriage, just a bit larger, easily seen as a target. Do you have any other ideas? Shia Yuan suddenly brightened, saying, I've got it. Master, just wait a moment. She began to dismantle the car into pieces, then reassembled it into a motorcycle, asking, how about this, Master? Shia Yuan shouted joyfully, this. Shia Yuan introduced, heavy-duty transport, engine upgrade, 150 horsepower, lightweight overall, 100 meters in 2 seconds. Shia Yuan touched the vehicle and said, good. He thought again, although I don't know what she's talking about, my male instincts have been triggered. He excitedly said, just by looking at the shape, I have already reacted. He clenched his fists in excitement. A motorcycle, so this is called a motorcycle. Shia Yuan replied, currently, my memory database is still being gradually restored, and after it is complete, it can even transform into an airplane. Shia Yuan asked curiously, airplane? What is an airplane? Is flying like riding a sword through the air? Shia Yuan replied, that's right, but all means of transportation require the corresponding driver's license. He sat on the vehicle and said, I have ridden all kinds of mounts and have never needed a license. He twisted the throttle, and Shia Yuan's vehicle started moving. Shia Yuan was ecstatic and hit the body of the vehicle, making her gloomy, angry, and say, Master, you need to take the driving test first before you can use it. Shia Yuan exclaimed in surprise, I can't use it without a driver's license. Even if she has already accepted the master, is that not allowed? Shia Yuan instructed, left hand on gear 1, hook number 2, then hook number 3, followed by hook number 4, gently hook halfway to mode number. Shia Yuan read the instructions, feeling dizzy, you need to brake the rear wheel, and the right hand brakes the front wheel, you must brake the rear wheel first. This manual is so boring, let me check the next chapter. That Demon Fire Youth sounds more suitable for me. The motorcycle screen shows that it is the advanced version, Shia Yuan said. The advanced version is more suitable for me. Going back a little in time, the sword flew in the air, carrying immense power. Little junior sister took the sword, easily controlled it, then ran over, calling out, Senior brother, have you seen my sky-slicing sword technique? Shia Yuan took a breath and praised, I truly do not have a talent for swordsmanship, not even comparable to junior sister. Little junior sister responded, senior brother's flaw is being too modest. Oh right, let me teach you the technique of flying with the sword. She blushed slightly and continued. Flying with the sword is actually much simpler than the agility of senior brother. Senior brother will definitely be able to learn it. Once he learns it, then, Shia Yuan also felt his face flush and asked, what will it be? Little junior sister had come closer and replied, advancement. He imagined the scene of flying with little junior sister and felt so happy that he smiled foolishly, saying, advancement. Let's advance, junior sister. I will definitely advance, and if I advance a little more, it can never be wrong. Little junior sister handed him the sword and said, then senior brother, pick up the sword. Returning to reality, Shia Yuan said, I'm tired now, let's rest for half a watch. Shia Yuan, come over here and lie down to talk with me. Shia Yuan replied, yes, master. She asked, master, are you thinking about little junior sister again? I can temporarily change into the appearance of little junior sister. Shia Yuan said, that's not necessary. I was thinking about. He looked at the broken jade piece in his hand, puzzled, although I always feel in my heart that little junior sister is still alive. When I look around beyond the demon beasts and you, I haven't seen any human clan appear these days. He looked up again and raised a question, perhaps in this world, I am really the only one left. But if that's really the case, why don't we disappear along with everyone else? Just because I am the champion of the world? When I faced little junior sister, I realized that she was not inferior to me, she should not have disappeared at all. Shia Yuan lying next to me asked, have you ever thought that perhaps humanity has not been extinguished but simply relocated by the white light? Hearing this, Shia Yuan startled and turned to say, "You make a valid point, even if it is divine punishment. I have never heard of the possibility of all humanity being wiped out in an instant. If there truly is a powerful force like that." His face turned pale, and he said, "I honestly am not sure I can win." Shia Yuan asked, "Are you scared, master?" Then Shia Yuan froze, his eyes wide open, and said, "The word fear does not exist in my dictionary. As long as I regain my strength and find the monster in the sky, I will surely fight it to the end." However, for now, he was a bit annoyed, looking at her and exclaiming, "Leg." Then he panicked and shouted, "Lift it." Shia Yuan immediately moved her leg away and explained, "I am your prized concubine, so if you lie down, I naturally have to be by your side." Shia Yuan held his head in despair and said, "With this personality and appearance, I began to feel that I couldn't stand it any longer." In the evening, Shia Yuan lay on the tree. He poked Shia Yuan and raised an eyebrow, saying, "There's not a soul on the road, and yet you are with me. What could happen while driving? I want to set off tomorrow." Shia Yuan refused and immediately lectured him. "There are many roads, but safety is paramount. Driving illegally will bring tears to loved ones. Master, you must not operate a motor vehicle without a license." Shia Yuan covered his ears and said, "I can't hear you, can't hear you. I'm just riding a motorcycle, why do I need to take a truck driving test? Not only that, but do I also need to take a parking test?" As he turned around, he suddenly fell down, but fortunately, he caught himself on the tree and sighed. "That was close." Shia Yuan coldly thought, "You, being a member of the human clan, how can you be so sure that I will always accompany you?" She sorrowfully flew down and said, "Master, tomorrow we will continue our practice. Today, I won't disturb you anymore." Shia Yuan raised his middle finger and said, "Practice, practice, practice what?" Just one sentence from the Northern Progress School manual, and flooring the gas is enough. Talking too much, he fell down again. Shia Yuan was sleeping when someone called out, "Senior brother, senior brother." He was startled and turned to ask, "Shia Yuan, why did you turn into her?" The little junior sister became jealous and asked, "Who is Shia Yuan?" "Senior brother, you called another person's name, I'm angry now, don't you recognize me?" Shia Yuan was delighted and asked, "Little junior sister, why did you?" The little junior sister hushed him, raised her hand, and said, "Lower your voice a bit, there are other people around." She looked down and warned, "Your Shia Yuan will hear." She leaned close to Shia Yuan and said, "Senior brother, I've been waiting for you with great difficulty. Why haven't you come to find me yet?" Shia Yuan replied, "Senior brother is taking the driving test." The little junior sister fiddled below and praised, "Taking a driving test, such an easy task, of course, it won't be difficult for you, right?" Shia Yuan laughed heartily. She turned her head and said, "Isn't it just pressing the clutch in, shifting the gear back to second, then to neutral, and pushing to third?" She turned to look at him and continued, "Just add a little more technique, and when you need to be strong, be decisive. When precision is needed, one must control everything accurately, bit by bit." She gently said, "Senior brother, please study hard and quickly ride back here, I am still waiting for you." Shia Yuan, still sleepy, replied, "Okay, I will study well, and I will come to find you." Shia Yuan flew up and called, "Master, it's time to wake up, today also." She was surprised and said, "Master," and saw Shia Yuan already sitting on the bike, proudly saying, "What's so difficult? There are still people waiting for me." With dark circles under his eyes, he still arrogantly declared, "Come on, this time I will definitely succeed." Looking at the system interface, Shia Yuan was taken aback. If this is the driving test, is it enough to pass these sections? I want to try again. He clenched his fists, determined, "For little junior sister, I am determined to pass the driving test. For the gear shifting of little junior sister, I will charge ahead. Please check your personal information before starting the exam." Then, the Supreme finally passed the test and obtained the license. Topic 1, a total of 15 times. Topic 2, a total of 1 time. Topic 3, a total of 1 time. Topic 4, a total of 1 time. After some time, Shia Yuan was able to drive, even speeding like crazy. With excitement, he exclaimed, Zishaan, we have arrived. This adventure may have officially begun. 5 days' journey from Zishaan, in the forest, a nimble figure dashed past. The wild boar, frightened, jumped down and ran away in panic. The figure also leaped from there. Shia Yuan grabbed the controls, shouted, Shia Yuan, then accelerated, urging, chase after it, don't let it escape. Shia Yuan pursued the wild boar. The boar, being chased, had bloodshot eyes and crashed into a tree. The tree flew up and then fell near Shia Yuan and Shia Yuan's motorcycle. He said, we need to think of a way, can you go any faster? Just as Shia Yuan dropped down, Shia Yuan transformed into another engine and landed. Shia Yuan excitedly asked, is it a fly sword? Shia Yuan, you did great. Shia Yuan took off, asking, Master, are you ready? They are about to start. Shia Yuan inquired, start now. The engine behind started up, pulling Shia Yuan along. Tears fell from his eyes as he said, what's going on? Shia Yuan flew at high speed, yelling, start, 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 start. Shia Yuan formed a seal and shouted, ah! It's too fast. Quickly, he commanded, charge, spirit-infused stone. He took the iron rod, regained his confidence, and chuckled, foolish pig, you can't run away. In the blink of an eye, he had chased down the wild boar. It growled, unaware that the iron rod had pierced through from behind. Turning around, the pork had been roasted to a crispy perfection. Shia Yuan called, Shia Yuan, I've kept you waiting for a long time, it's finally done roasting. Shia Yuan was also setting up the table and said, Master, this place is ready too. She smiled softly and remarked, looking at your movements just now, it seems the closer you get to Zishaan, the more evident your recovery power becomes. Shia Yuan chewed on the meat and asked, so do you know what that means? She wiped his mouth as if wiping a table and replied, Shia Yuan doesn't know. Shia Yuan gently swirled the wine glass, his expression sinister, and said, it means that my essence of Zishaan is still intact. Regaining all my powers is just a matter of time. As for that monster in the sky, its day of death is approaching. He leaned back in his chair, feeling relaxed, and said, this feeling of lightness really makes me feel like I've separated from another world. He glanced over and said, Shia Yuan, don't stand anymore. A few days ago, I found a small chair, you can sit on that for now. Shia Yuan replied yes and then sat down facing him. Shia Yuan suddenly asked Shia Yuan why she didn't finish her sentence. Shia Yuan suddenly unleashed her power, her face looked troubled, and she clenched her hands. Shia Yuan panicked and stood up, calling out to Shia Yuan, her eyes were red and many strange scenes appeared. She flipped the table and held her head, collapsing down in pain. Shia Yuan confusedly asked Shia Yuan what was wrong with her. He embraced her, worried, calling out to Shia Yuan. She weakly said her head hurt too much. Shia Yuan, puzzled, asked why it hurt so much. Was there some kind of incident? Was there a control panel displaying anything? What could he do to help her? Shia Yuan suddenly opened her bright red eyes and looked at him, saying that humanity was all dead. After that, she transformed back into a sphere. Shia Yuan was left speechless as he watched the sphere fall. There were still 4 days left until Zishaan, and Shia Yuan was driving quickly down the small road. He held Shia Yuan, happily saying he almost thought she wouldn't wake up. Did she remember anything while she was unconscious? Shia Yuan sadly replied that she thought she must have had a circuit interruption. She was not like a human, she could dream of anything. There is nothing to remember. Shia Yuan said, cut off the circuit. Cutting off the circuit is good, if I could cut it off while going to Zishaan, that would be great. Shia Yuan reminded, Master, drive with both hands. He recalled her words, humanity has been killed, and thought, I will ask her that question another day, it must be related to the monsters in the sky. He said, suddenly I remembered, from this direction to Zishaan, I will definitely pass by a place. It is a place I have never returned to since I fell into the demonic path. Shia Yuan drove to my sect. He stepped onto the steps of the Xianyang sect, remembering, long ago, I swore that I would never set foot in this place again. My fellow disciples also swore that if I dared to step in even a little, they would tear me to 1,000 pieces. He snorted disdainfully a few times, then jumped onto the platform. I have entered here. He looked inside and shouted, where are the people who want to kill me? He looked in, not a single person in sight, and felt it was truly meaningless. Shia Yuan said, I think it's all due to the white light that the master mentioned, that's why they disappeared. Shia Yuan said gloomily, I think so too. He slowly moved forward and asked, why didn't you stop for half a day since you came back? Follow me. Shia Yuan flew after him, responding, yes, master. Shia Yuan walked and recalled the first time he set foot here. He never expected to still be alive for so long. He remembered himself as a child, covered in blood, desperately trying to run to the Xianyang sect, tears continuously falling from fear as he turned back. A few assassins chased after him, shouting, over there, hurry and chase him, kid, you can't escape. Shia Yuan ran while crying, help me. Not carefully, he kicked and tripped over the step, and in despair, he cried even louder, calling for his parents, saying, I don't want to die. In front of him appeared a man, and he clutched his clothing like a life-saving straw, saying, please help me, my parents, my whole family, they were all killed by them, please save me. The man looked down at him, coldly asking a question that was also cruel, your whole family is dead, what meaning does your life have anymore? Shia Yuan was still young, not understanding the situation, stammering for a moment, then confidently replied, because I want to eat more and grow up quickly. Once I grow up, I will revive my family. We still need to take revenge. That guy in the blue shirt placed his hand on my shoulder and exclaimed, that's interesting. Shia Yuan looked up at the sky, walked on with a relaxed mood, and continued, at that time, I thought he found it interesting because I was still young and wanted to take revenge. He glanced over at Shia Yuan and added, later, I learned that when he said interesting, he was referring to something else entirely. Shia Yuan asked, this person saved you, who is he, and what is this interesting thing? Shia Yuan replied, he is Lu Chen, the grand elder of the sect, the junior brother of the sect master. He not only saved me but also brought me back to the sect, gave me a place to rely on, and personally taught me how to cultivate. Upon hearing this, Shia Yuan remarked, Elder Lu Chen is indeed a good person. Shia Yuan suddenly stopped and said, that's right. His expression suddenly turned cold with a hint of disdain, saying, back then, I also thought he was a good person. Going back a bit, at the training ground, the disciples were discussing when they saw Shia Yuan. He is the one who joined the sect 5 years ago, rang Shia Yuan. Currently, in the same generation of the sect, does he have no rivals? Don't mention the generation, even the little uncles cannot defeat him. Is it really extraordinary talent? Some even say, our master inadvertently revealed that Rang Shia Yuan has rare spiritual roots. What's going on? How come we all don't know about such shocking news? Even he himself doesn't know. If this information spreads, it will surely shake the entire cultivation world. Shia Yuan said, at that time, I thought of myself as exceptionally talented but didn't realize the reason for that exceptionality. With the pride and hope of a young man, I just felt how lucky I was. Everything in the sect was truly wonderful. Then I met my little junior sister, and I became even more immersed in this peaceful life, almost forgetting the hatred I had to bear. I just wanted to live this way for the rest of my life. The little junior sister called from behind, senior brother, wait for us. Shia Yuan turned around, and the little junior sister was still calling, senior brother, I can't return to the sect with you today. Bing Chua senior sister asked me to go to the market. I heard that the annual grand fair will start the day after tomorrow. Shia Yuan patted her head and said, then junior sister can go. I will find a reason for you, saying there is still some work to finish. Little junior sister asked, do you want to go together? Shia Yuan gently brushed his bangs and replied, I can't go. Master has assigned me training exercises. Little junior sister huffed and said, clearly, you are already very talented, yet Master is still strict with you, assigning you more tasks than anyone else. Shia Yuan scratched his head and said, "Don't say that. Master does it for my own good. They always say I am lazy, not studying this or that." Little junior sister bid him farewell, saying, "Then I'm off. I'll bring some delicious food back for senior brother." Shia Yuan waved goodbye to her and replied, "All right." In the evening, Shia Yuan was still doing his daily exercises. He sat cross-legged and said, "It seems like it's about to rain. I wonder if little junior sister is having fun. Once I'm done practicing spiritual principles, I need to hurry up the mountain to report." At that moment, a wave of demon energy flew by. Shia Yuan turned and said, "What is that?" He then drew his sword and exclaimed, "The scent of a demon." He immediately flew after the shadow, shouting, "Stop." He raised his sword, "If you run again, I'll take action." Shia Yuan paused and looked around, asking, "Where is this? I have been in the sect for many years but have never seen this place." He gritted his teeth and said, "The demonic scent is here. Humph, it definitely can't escape." A sultry voice called out, "Little elder." In front of him appeared a fox spirit swaying several tails, asking, "Can you spare me?" Shia Yuan waved his hand and asked, "Where are you demon beasts from? Why are you sneaking into my sect?" The fox demon looked sad and said, "I didn't mean to." As soon as she finished speaking, her tail wrapped around Shia Yuan's leg. The scent of the fox demon also enveloped him, tempting him, and she continued, "As long as little elder spares me a way to live, I am willing to do anything for you." Shia Yuan raised his hand and said, "No need. I have heard many such words before. I can let you go, but I must delve into your consciousness. As long as you have never done anything evil, I will allow you to leave." The fox demon blinked and was suddenly behind Shia Yuan, her hand reaching for his clothes, saying, "Little elder, rest assured, I am completely innocent. Feel free to check." Shia Yuan was taken aback by her sudden words and actions, thinking, although she has a strong aura of demonic energy, but she did not seem scared or hesitant about our intrusion into consciousness. Perhaps she genuinely had never harmed anyone. He thought and had already connected with spiritual energy, preparing to enter consciousness, saying, "Then I will not be polite any longer." The seal was raised to the mouth of the fox demon, but she did not react, causing Shia Yuan to feel anxious. As a result, the fox demon moved behind him, amused, "Ha, little elder is truly naive." Her hand raised, she excitedly said, "It's been a long time since I experienced a pure cultivator like this. Let me savor the flavor." Her hand pressed down on Shia Yuan's head. Suddenly a sword was thrust forward, shouting, "Fox demon, do you dare?" The fox demon dodged the sword and released him. Shia Yuan turned pale, cried out, and then collapsed. In a daze, he heard the sect master ask, "Where is that fox demon?" The other replied, "Killed her." The sect master asked curiously, "Was it that easy to kill her?" The other said, "Not only killed but also skinned her." Shia Yuan sat on the bed, blindfolded again, his body unable to move. He thought, "Is that the voice of the sect master uncle? Am I in the sect master's room? Why can't I move? What is happening?" Another voice spoke up, "The fox demon has harmed Shia Yuan. How I have treated her is already quite gentle." Hearing this, he was surprised to think, "The master is also here. It was the master who saved me." The sect master set down his teacup and said, "Lu Chen, don't think that I really can't guess what you're thinking." He lifted his cup again and added, "That fox demon knows you. When I arrived, although she was barely hanging on, she wasn't dead yet. She kept mumbling something. You were afraid that the holy fire would hear it, so you skinned her." Shia Yuan was dumbfounded, wondering, "Afraid I would hear?" That's right, he recalled that moment. The fox demon lay on the ground, barely alive, still laughing. "Lu Chen, you really wear such a humble outfit. Ha ha. But I smell something on you that is even worse, more disgusting than me." Lu Chen raised his sword and swiftly killed her. Returning to the present, he scoffed and said, "What am I afraid of? Even if the fox demon said something, it's just empty words without evidence. He doesn't remember anything." The sect master bowed his head in silence. Shia Yuan grew increasingly confused, pondering. What are the master and sect master talking about? Are they afraid I might hear something? The sect master turned to Shia Yuan and said, let's go outside to talk. If Shia Yuan wakes up later, he will hear it. Lu Chen calmly said, I just healed him and sealed his 5 senses. He can't hear anything at all. By the way, I have erased his memory of the fox demon. When he wakes up, he will only remember that he accidentally fell from a cliff and got injured, with no memory of the fox demon at all. Shia Yuan was astonished and thought, what? But I still remember clearly. I can still hear them talking. Why is that? The two of them left the room, and there was a glowing seal on Shia Yuan's chest. He was surprised and said, this is a demon seal. When did the fox demon place this on my heart? What is her purpose in doing this? It's over, it's over. This must not be left behind. I have to quickly erase it. The demon seal on me could lead others to misunderstand that I colluded with the demon clan and be expelled from the sect. Does this fox demon want to harm me? Outside, the sect master sighed and said, Lu Chen Jr. brother, Shia Yuan is a very obedient child. You are treating him terribly. Shia Yuan sweated and deduced, I can still hear it, it must be the demon seal. Lu Chen coldly replied, he should have died 5 years ago. It is because of me that he has lived for another 5 years. He should be thanking me. The sect master countered, but if it weren't for you discovering his spiritual root, he wouldn't have been targeted for assassination. His whole clan wouldn't have been exterminated, and he wouldn't have become an orphan, let alone die. His current misfortune is all because of you. Shia Yuan involuntarily shivered upon hearing those words, questioning, what did you say? That year, I disguised myself as a Taoist and approached his parents with the intention of using the excuse of learning skills to take Shia Yuan away. But his parents treated him like a treasure and refused to let anyone take him. As a result, I had no choice but to send someone to eliminate those who obstructed. Clean and tidy, wiping out the entire village. He smiled at his accomplishments and continued speaking. Finally, step by step, I pushed him to the sect, willingly offering himself at my doorstep. Look, he is grateful to me now. If I have time to wait for him to mature, I will make him devote his body to me. Does he dare to resist? His body with celestial spiritual roots requires no effort at all. He turned his head and maliciously said, even if he refuses, all his skills were taught by me. When the time comes, I will seize him with my own hands, as easy as flipping a hand. The sect master, horrified, stammered, you, then sighed helplessly, Lu Chen, your cultivation is not righteous. Doing things like seizing bodies only makes it worse. Lu Chen waved his hand and loudly replied, what am I afraid of? What am I afraid of? Even if I did good deeds, I wouldn't live more than a few years. You are healthy, so you can't understand the suffering of being bedridden since birth, living day by day. I have endured enough. He turned around and said, Sect Master Senior Brother, I'm saying all this for you to understand my determination. Therefore, I advise you to mind your own business. Be careful not to let others find out. Now your cultivation is completely gone. He glared intensely at the sect master, emphasizing, take care of yourself, senior brother. The sect master sighed once more, thinking to himself, sigh, as a sect master like me, all I can do is watch. He looked at the hand covered in green lines and said, truly useless. He looked at Shia Yuan, who was crying, and thought, tears, did he have traces of tears on his face just now? Or has he heard something? He raised his hand wanting to wipe away the tears from him, saying, Shia Yuan, good child, perhaps, but then withdrew his hand, saying, never mind, not my business, I won't interfere. Everything is determined by natural fate, all just to grasp a glimmer of hope. He turned around, trying to ignore it, perhaps he had tears on his face just now, but we simply didn't pay attention. Back to reality, Shia Yuan stomped his foot and stepped onto the porch. He strolled and sighed, returning to the sect, my heart feels tumultuous. This scenery fills my heart with emotion. Why not try writing a poem? He raised his hand and hummed, I really don't know how to write poems. Even Shia Yuan couldn't help but laugh, saying, Master, you are truly terrible. Unexpectedly, she was so happy that it got out of hand, and she slapped Shia Yuan hard, sending him crashing down into the ground. He covered both his nostrils, with his body bruised and filthy, recalling, in the past, this place was bustling with disciples coming and going continuously. There were those controlling beasts and others flying on swords. A scene of prosperity and vitality. She observed that no matter how skilled a sect might be, after a short time, it would be no different from the mundane world outside. Shia Yuan nearby let out a sigh of relief and said, You scared me to death. The master's heartbeat and blood pressure have returned to normal. The vital signs are stabilizing as well. Shia Yuan replied, I'm fine, Shia Yuan. It's just a bit of nostalgia. The sect still has those houses, but there is no one left. The scenery remains, yet now it looks so desolate and ruined. Shia Yuan became serious and said, Master, I know. The sect didn't treat you well back then. Why don't we tear down these houses to vent your anger? I can transform into an excavator. Shia Yuan, still elegant, called out, Shia Yuan. He looked ahead, letting go of his resentment, and said, In any case, the things are still there, but the people are gone. Even if I wanted to hate, there's no place left to channel that hatred. Moreover, Shia Yuan. He stood up and reminded her, Don't forget, we have our own goals. We have demands for the future. Shia Yuan looked at him in confusion. Shia Yuan suddenly took out a large bag from his pocket, mischievously saying, We are the kings of trash. For trash, no matter where it is, we must prioritize picking it up first. He handed the bag to Shia Yuan, saying, Come here, Shia Yuan. Take this bag, let's hit the road. Shia Yuan took the bag, which had an unknown odor, and said, Master, next time could you put the bag inside the spirit-infused stone? I'm not worried about tearing the bag. Shia Yuan blushed slightly and coughed, saying, Don't mind such details. Shia Yuan, did you know that returning to the sect can also be beneficial? He twirled his finger and excitedly recounted, from the sect master's personal funds to the rare treasures that little junior brother hides, I have a grasp of all the secret mechanisms. Shia Yuan's eyes widened, Oh, that's true. It's hard to guard against thieves at home. Shia Yuan, feeling enthusiastic, ran ahead, saying, Okay, Shia Yuan, you go east, I'll go west. Let's split up and search to improve efficiency. Shia Yuan responded, Yes, master. Shia Yuan was excited, thinking, the east is all junior brother's rooms. Opening the door will reveal nothing but dirty clothes. I never want to go there in my life. He happily said, It's still the room of senior sister, junior sister is the freshest and most comfortable. Shia Yuan drooled, remembering, Oh right, little junior sister once secretly told me that all the senior sisters and junior sisters have quite a few treasured heirlooms. Young girls in their prime always have their own feelings, and later on the road, there will be more books for entertainment. He cheerfully ran into the rooms of the junior sisters. The most precious thing is that I can finally comfortably and secretly explore the private room of Grand Senior Sister. Thinking of Grand Senior Sister's chest, Shia Yuan was drooling, running in quickly, I'm here. Shia Yuan stood in front of the door, suddenly stopping. He sighed, saying, How could I forget, the rooms of senior sister and junior sister have long been gone. When I fell into the demonic path, the immortal sects couldn't handle me and vented all their anger on the sect. They blamed them for raising a disciple like me. To quell everyone's anger, Lu Chen took charge and arranged for senior sister and junior sister to be married off to the immortal sections. Only little junior sister refused to leave, preferring to stay and guard the remote Xiangning city. Relying on her own strength, little junior sister built Xiangning city into one of the 10 strongest fortresses. Shia Yuan sighed and apologized. He recalled, At that time, I ordered, all senior sisters and junior sisters from my previous sect are to be considered my spoils of war. Ensure they survive, understand? The demon object replied, Got it, understood. Therefore, before the final battle, I secretly sent messages to the senior sisters and junior sisters. Most of the senior sisters and junior sisters, who were forced into marriage back then, had no feelings for their husbands and quietly left. I also instructed the demon general to turn a blind eye. Apart from little junior sister, who resolutely refused to back down, there was no one left, which is understandable. She has always been like that, willing to sacrifice her life to protect others. Truly foolish. Shia Yuan thought and felt tears welling up, calling, "My little junior sister." Suddenly, Shia Yuan called out loudly, "Master, come here quickly. There's a treasure, a really big treasure." The voice was so destructive that Shia Yuan almost wanted to fly away, thinking, "That's too loud." Shia Yuan frowned and asked, "Big treasure?" Seeing the little pig with its rosy cheeks squealing, Shia Yuan excitedly exclaimed, "Look! It's a pig." Shia Yuan stood there in silence, but Shia Yuan jumped up joyfully. "It's a completely natural piglet, super cute pink, not mutated, not polluted." Shia Yuan sighed and said, "Shia Yuan, stop jumping. Act like a lady." He was horrified, thinking, "This is not good, I have to reshape Shia Yuan tonight. She is currently a bit hard to adjust to her body." Recalling the past, he said, "Shia Yuan, from now on your name will be Shia Yuan." To which she made a confused face. At that moment, she truly seemed out of her mind. Shia Yuan asked, "Master, can we take it?" Before he could finish, she was already drooling, saying, "Stir-fried garlic with pork belly." Shia Yuan said, "Make it a pet," then turned around and hugged the pig tightly, causing its eyes to roll back. "Master, we can't. Shia Yuan likes it." Shia Yuan snorted, crossing his arms and said, "Petty." The pig squealed, thinking, "Don't kill me, I still have value." It kept wriggling and crying out. Shia Yuan looked at it and said, "Master, it seems like it wants to tell us something." That's all for now, see you in the next episode.